before, during, and after a tragedy, there's one organization you can count on. What is it? You'll find out on this morning's Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Stevens Floor Covering Center on Highway 17 Bypass in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the coastal South Carolina chapter of the American Red Cross. And we're visiting with its executive director, Angela Nicholas. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning.
Sometimes get stumped on folks early in the morning trying to get things out at 7 a.m. It's a stretch. But
it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. It's particularly great to have you, knowing that we knew you couldn't get lost getting over here.
That's right.
Having worked next door for about 4 years.
Yes, I did. I was an editor at the Sun News.
Right, which was particularly exciting to see after having been an editor at another Herald, since we were with the Myrtle Beach Herald, the Silva Herald, for I think quite a while.
Right, and in my hometown of Silva, I began my career there and worked up to editor.
Which was tremendous, yeah, in Western North Carolina, and then later joining the Sun News down here. And I think I saw you were editor of the Horry County Gazette, the Conway, the western part of the counties.
Right. I started with the Sun News as editor of the Gazette, and then eventually worked into the neighbors section, 4-zone neighbors section, and remained editor of the Gazette as well.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
So it was a busy job.
Yeah. So you had the Gazette, and then the 4 zones of the neighbor section, which is principally the Thursday additional section that comes in.
Right. The feature section,
yes,
local news,
which has great local content.
It does.
My home on the south end of Myrtle Beach was getting some great, there's a columnist, I can't remember her name, a woman who lives in Murrells Inlet, who was writing a great piece.
Jackie Nelson?
Jackie Nelson, exactly,
Yeah.
who had in the South Strand Neighbors portion a great piece. I think Tori Tall's now doing something for them.
For the Myrtle Beach section.
On the Myrtle Beach section, and she was actually, strangely enough, in the South Strand section a couple weeks ago, and doing a great job. So the Sun News is really making it happen. Of course, being next door, real easy knowing, again, you'd be here on time and know how to get here this morning. Thanks again for coming in. The Coastal South Carolina chapter of the American Red Cross is happening. A lot going on right now. I understand you all had a devastating series of fires in the month of January.
Absolutely. January, February, when the weather gets cold, it's always a time when people are using alternative heat sources. And I don't know how it happens, but it just seems like the fires increase during that time of year. And during January, we had more than 15 home fires. We spent several $1,000s in assistance helping families. And it's truly the day-to-day operation of the Red Cross that a lot of people are not really aware of, is that we respond almost every day to home fires. In fact, our statistics show that it's at least 3 fires a week.
Golly, Angela.
So we're very busy with that.
And of course, we're talking the Coastal South Carolina chapter is not only Horry and Georgetown, but Horry, Georgetown, and Williamsburg counties.
That's right.
The first largest, the third largest, and I believe the 4th largest counties geographically in the state of South Carolina.
It's a large territory, about 3,000 square miles, and a population of approximately 300,000 people.
Golly.
So it's a lot to cover.
And of course, we here in Myrtle Beach oftentimes think we're the center of the world, particularly the center of South Carolina, and clearly we're just one small portion of your very large territory for your volunteers and all the firefighters and volunteer firefighters. Yes. Being out constantly, spreading out over those 3,000 square miles. It's a big, big deal.
It is, and because it is spread out and some of the areas are rural, it makes the response even more important. A lot of these folks are in areas of the county that are, of more need for assistance, and also our volunteer base. We have to be sure that we have volunteers from all areas of our coverage areas so that we can respond as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. I want to focus on you a little bit, Angela, but for folks who need to get off to work now or out to school, what's a good number for someone to call to get some basic information, and do y'all have a website?
We do, and the easiest way is to call our headquarters here in Myrtle Beach at 477-0020, or check our website, which is just stock full of good information for you. That's www.coastalscarc.org.
Okay, www.coastalscarc.org.
Right.
And the 843-477-0020 number.
Right.
And the great thing is, seeing y'all are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, but y'all are really open 24/7.
Oh, we are. We're on call 24/7. Once we leave the office, we roll the phones over to a 24-hour answering service, and we are available by telephone as needed at any hour of the day or night. So.
Interesting. You said you're from Western North Carolina. Grew up in Western North Carolina.
Right.
How long have you been in this area?
My husband and I moved here about 6 years ago after he retired. And
Okay.
we just decided we wanted to live at the beach, and we chose Myrtle Beach as our area. So we really enjoy living here.
Absolutely.
A lot to do here.
And a lot of folks, I'm sure, who grow up on the coast think, I never want to live on the coast anymore. Let's go up to the mountains. Let's be in Western North Carolina, for instance.
Well, when I tell them I moved here from Asheville, which is where we were living, they all immediately say, "Why, are you crazy? We all want to go to Asheville." But,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the way it is. But I have the best of both worlds. My family's still in the mountains, so I go enjoy the mountains, and then I come home to the warmer weather at the beach. So.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure they enjoy coming down to
They
see
do. They do.
Angela and Al. That's exciting. And, of course, getting in the newspaper business, that's a pretty big shift. Having been in the publishing industry for a long, long time, and now in desperate activities of serving folks in fired situations or
Right.
who need blood or otherwise.
Well, I spent about 20 years in the news industry, and of course, during that entire time, when I was a reporter, I was going out covering fires and disasters that people were dealing with, and I was working with the firemen and the public emergency safety folks. So it was easier to transition because I did have a focus on that area in the news industry. But it's certainly a different type of work, and I'm really enjoying working with the Red Cross because it has such a wonderful mission. We know that we're there helping individuals every day, and when we go home at night, we have a really good feeling.
Oh, yeah. You've got to. Every night.
Yes.
That's right, every night. There were some big words, and the website had a couple of key phrases. One was, all disaster assistance is free of charge.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
so that means y'all are constantly needing to continue to fund the mission, essentially, to make sure there's dollars to support the families that are stricken, or the neighbors that are stricken, or the folks that to put up hotels. Or how do y'all go about getting the funds to run the American Red Cross, the local chapter?
Well, the local chapters are responsible for raising all their own funds. We do not receive any government assistance. We
Wow.
are not a government agency, but we are chartered by Congress to provide the services to the public, which is an interesting concept. But we do have to rely on local fundraising and donors to support our services. And we are in need of that assistance now. As you can imagine, with that many fires in January, it was really devastating at this time of the year when donations are typically down.
Right.
So it's really important for people to remember that the dollars donated to the local Red Cross go right back into the local community.
They stay here.
They absolutely do, because all these individuals, in calendar year 2006, we assisted over 817 people in our community. That's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And almost half of those were children.
Is that
So
right?
all of those individuals that lost their home or lost a portion of their home, that was a devastating emergency for them. And the Red Cross provides emergency shelter and food and clothing for each of those family members.
Really?
To help them get back on their feet again.
Well, y'all desperately, you do need donations then on a year-round basis, not just coming in spurts. You need it constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
If a viewer wanted to be involved, either as a volunteer possibly to come in to help you, assist you getting donations brought in, or to actually make a donation, is it best to call the phone number, or could they actually just mail in a donation?
Well, they can mail it in to 2795 Pampas Drive in Myrtle Beach with
Okay.
29577, or they can make a credit card donation by calling the 477-0020 phone number. We do
Okay.
take over-the-phone donations.
And again, that's 2795 Pampas Drive, Pampas Drive in Myrtle Beach, 29577.
That's right.
And of course, I'm sure fires don't discriminate. They come after
No.
anyone and everyone.
They
Much like
absolutely
many
do.
other diseases or other things, fires do not discriminate, and the families that are impacted run the gamut. They have the same needs as anyone else when they're
Right.
afflicted with a fire.
Right. And we work closely with all the fire departments to be sure that they notify the families that the Red Cross assistance is available if they choose to have it. It's the sort of thing where the family decides, do they have other family members they can go stay with, or are they left out in the cold with bare feet and pajamas, which, in the middle of the night if you have a fire, that's often the way the clients are left. So when the fire department calls us, we get our volunteers out there any hour. We have them go out at 4 a.m., whatever it takes to be sure that we can arrange shelter for those individuals. So it's a very important part of what we do.
For viewers who possibly couldn't make a donation, are there still needs that you all have in the office? Do you have volunteer needs, or out of the office? Are there volunteer needs that viewers could be involved in?
Sure, we are a volunteer-run organization. My chapter has only 8 staff members, so the rest of what we do, we have to rely on trained volunteers. So we're always seeking good volunteers, and right now we do have a need for some individuals that would like to just work in the office, helping to answer the phone, helping to schedule our CPR and first aid classes and the other services that we provide. And then we have the disaster volunteers, which is another level of training, which again is all free training to our volunteers. And those disaster volunteers would learn how to service the individuals that have a need. And that can be from, a major hurricane, tornado, fire, flooding, any of the natural disasters or even man-made disasters. We have to think about terrorist attacks at this point in time.
Right.
What could happen? In fact, we're also educating on the pandemic influenza and the possibilities that could happen in our community should we have a major pandemic, which could be really devastating to the public as well. So another aspect of Red Cross is that we educate and try to help people plan ahead for any type of emergency or disaster.
Education is so important, and I know a lot of viewers may not have access to the internet, but if they can find a way, go to a public library, go to a neighbor, otherwise, to get to coastalscarc.org. There's some tremendous information on there that's supported by the National Red Cross site. There's great information that comes in that way. But there's so much, as I went through it earlier this morning to see about the pandemic flu, the possibility there to be concerned about that. Of course, the shelters, some of your local partners, many ways to make donations, you said, either online or just calling in, the 843-477-0020 number.
Right.
But other great information, and of course, blood. Blood donation is a big issue right now.
It is a big issue at this time of the year again, and I think that begins even back during the holidays. A lot of people are busy and they forget that there's still a need. So we do have a link on our website that will take people right to the information they need to know how to donate in their area.
Angela, share with viewers, of course, you all went through a couple of years ago when you joined the chapter. It was in the midst of a restructuring. Horry, Georgetown, and Williamsburg merging together. That's a pretty big deal. What was that like, and what precipitated it, and how have things worked out?
Well, it's worked out very well. I'll say that up front. It was a part of National Red Cross's look at back office expenses and what makes sense. And obviously, Horry County chapter and the Georgetown chapter are both working with coastal risk issues.
Right.
We're a very at-risk area. So it made sense for us to join forces and work together rather than, each of us trying to raise our own funds and trying to coordinate volunteer training. So it's really, really been tremendous. The boards came together as one, the staff came together, and it's been very good for the public, we feel.